Yeah, today I'm reviewing a video game console. I mainly talk about movies on this channel. I have reviewed some video games and I've talked about some video game news, but this is kind of a new type of video on this channel. Feels weird. So the Super NES Classic came out a couple weeks ago, and it's basically the NES Classic that came out last year that no one was able to find. But it's now a Super Nintendo. It's a very small mini version of the Super Nintendo, and it's loaded with like 21 games. And I want to talk about it because I spent a bunch of time playing it. I'm like, hey, I should use some of that knowledge. Talking about the system itself, yeah, this thing is a mini. Look at this thing. It fits in the palm of my hand. I can fit this thing in my pocket. Well, okay, I have to stretch the pocket, but I can fit this thing in my pocket. This thing is insane. Back in the day, you needed something like this big to play one of these games. You can fit 21 of these games right inside of this little package. So I do like it. It's really sleek. It's really comfortable. Something that's kind of interesting is that they have the controller ports up here for authenticity, but obviously the controllers for the Classic are like the little nunchuck ports. So the way you do that is you kind of lift this tab out, and now you have your actual controller ports inside of there. That was interesting. I really liked that. One thing that is kind of annoying, this thing has a power reset button just like the original SNES. The annoying thing is that the fact that you can't reset from the controllers. You have to actually go up here and manually hit the reset button. Now, if you're going for authenticity, that is the way to go. It's still kind of annoying. Now, granted, you're not going to be sitting that far away from the console because, again, the cords for the controllers aren't that long. They're longer than the NES ones, but still not very long. Although GameStop does have wireless controllers. I'm kind of debating getting those. But still, getting up, hitting the reset button, it's a pain in the butt. Now, talking about the controllers themselves, the controllers are very similar. Here's the NES Classic one. Here's an original NES one. The NES Classic one is probably like just a hair smaller. It's not smaller though where you feel any sort of difference. They feel identical. Even just looking at them right now, I can't tell much of a difference. Although, again, Classic, regular. Look how much longer, just look at how much more this cord wraps around the controller. I'm not entirely sure how long this cord is, but they could have made this cord longer. It does plug in with HDMI, so you can play it on your HD TVs if you don't have an AV port on your HD TV. And what's cool is they do have a couple of different filters that you can play the games on. So they have the standard 4x3, they have this thing called Pixel Perfect mode, which kind of smooths everything out. Then they have this other filter called CRT filter, and it makes it look like an old box CRT TV. I've been playing on that mode, I really like it. The original 4x3 is kind of my least favorite one. The Pixel Perfect one's kind of cool, but the CRT one's where it's at. That's kind of all the spec stuff. Now let's talk about the games. In short, the game lineup, it's pretty great. Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Mario Kart. Yeah, there was a lot of supers on this console, but it is the Super Nintendo. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country, Yoshi's Island, Earthbound, Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy 3, Street Fighter. The lineup is great. I haven't gotten to all the games in it. I've gotten to a good amount of them though. And the nice thing is I do own some of these games, but this mini version's a lot more portable. So while I am going to keep those cartridges around, I might mainly switch to this because it does work nicely and there's a lot more games on it. But yet again, just like with the NES Classic, there's always that feeling of like, well, what about this game? And couldn't they have put this game in there? Especially given the fact that they have barely scratched the surface on either the NES or the SNES Classic's memory. Like, the games on these consoles do not take up that much space. They easily could have put on more games. Some of it might have been licensing things. Personally, I would have loved to see Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3 on here, especially 2. And that might be a copyright thing with Rareware. I'm not really sure, especially given the fact that they were able to get Donkey Kong Country on there. A couple more games, Disney's Aladdin would have been cool. Some of the Super Star Wars games would have been cool. But on the whole though, I mean, you look at like Earthbound, the game was like $120 online, and this console is $80. This console is worth less than Earthbound is in its entirety, and it has Earthbound on it plus like 20 other games. I can't really touch on Star Fox 2 because I haven't had time to play it because I played Star Fox once and apparently I did the hardest course, which I thought was the easiest course. Safe to say I got my butt kicked on the first level and I gotta go back to that. One thing to watch out for though is save states. Now the NES Classic had save states, and granted a lot more NES games could not save. In the Super Nintendo days, saving started to become kind of a standard thing, so you can save in games. The problem is that if you use the save functionality in the games as well as save states, say you're playing like Super Mario World and you save on the game itself on like World 4, but then you have a save state that's saved on World 3. You open up your SNES Classic, you go to the save state, and you go to World 3. That then overrides the file on the game itself. So now your progress all the way to World 4, yeah, that's completely gone now. So really watch out for those save states. That's one thing that kind of bothers me. Honestly, I don't think this console even needed save states. But honestly, how I view the system, I think pretty much everybody should get one. If you were a fan of these games back in the day, and even if you have a lot of them, this is a much more portable version of those. And even if you just like video games and video game history, the thing's like $80, it's not too bad. Or if you're younger and you haven't played any of these games, again, these are some of the greatest games of all time. A lot of these games have influenced games that we still play today. Yeah, pick it up, it's great. A couple things I would tweak is I would just get rid of save states overall, and I'd have some sort of button on the controller where you could restart it. I know that takes away from authenticity, but Come on, we're in 2017, not 1991. It's a great console. Pick it up if you don't have it, and I'm gonna go back to playing it right now. But before I do, let me know what you guys think of the SNES Classic. Did you guys get it? What did you think of it? If you guys don't have it, it might be a little tricky to find, but it's a lot more available than the NES Classic was last year, so it's not too bad. Comment down below with both your thoughts on this console as well as your favorite game on this console. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.